Shalom, all you students of Ivrit. Today, our lesson is from the book of John, as usual, but in Hebrew, and we're dealing with chapter 1, verses 37 to 40. So, let us begin. And as usual, we have the Nakud, the valve markings, and a sample of how they could possibly be used, and also useful resources, which are vital in our practice, so that each day we should be practicing. So let us begin. And as we start with 37, we see it's represented by Lamed, which has a value of 30, and a Zion, which has a value of 7, because it is the 7th letter of the alphabet. And so let us go through the letters. Vav, Shin, Nun, Yod, Tav, Lamed, Mem, Yod, Daled, Yod, Vav. Shin, Mem, Ayin, Vav, Aleph, Tav, Dalet, Vayet, because there's no dot in it, Resh, Vav, Vav, Yod, Lamed, Kaf, and Vav. And just a few points about the actual Nikud. This sound changes the Vav to a U. And we have here a Chirik, which is an I sound. Here we have Zere, which is an E sound. This is a Kamatz, which has the longer A sound. This is a E sound, and this is an A sound again. This is an O sound, a Cholim, an O sound. That's a Patak, that's a Zere. So Patak is an A sound, and Zere is the E sound again, and then you have the U sound. Right, so let us just read it now. And it is Ushne, which means and two of. Why is it of? Because when we got a Zere with the Yod at the end, we can also see it as like a construct form being two of. Tal mi Daiv, his disciples. And again, the Vav at the end is his. Shamu, they heard. And the ending is the pronoun, which is they. If we look down there, see we have the various words here, Shanayim, which is two, and Shanei, which is two, but it's a construct form, which I said before. And then we've got Talmud, which can mean disciple, pupil, or follower. And this ending is they, which is third person. And that depends on the context sometimes. Et grammar marker devaro, which is his word. Again, the pronouns at the end, it's his word. And then we have va-yel-ku, and they followed. Remembering that its root is halak, so it can mean and they walked, it can mean and they were going. Because it has the prefix, it's a completed action. And they followed is also there, right? So if we look down here, we've got Shema, which is a col verb to hear, to listen. And we have Davar, which can mean word, but it can also mean object, happening, or even saying. And then I've also given you Halak, meaning to walk, to proceed, to follow. So in the English it is, the two disciples heard his word and they followed. So now let us read that. Ushne tal mi daiv shamu et devaro va-yel ku. And of course the translation. And two of his disciples, they heard, grammar marker, his word, and they followed. So let us turn to part B of 37, and we have an Aleph, a Chet, Resh, Yod. Yod, He, Vav, Shin, Ayin. And we read it, Acharei. And again, its meaning is after. Yahushua. or Yahusha. They followed after Yeshua. Now I've given you achare, which is generally translated, it's a preposition, it means after. And then I've given you le'achar, which is a verb to be late, to be slow, to delay. Literally, you could say it means to be after, because achar normally means after, right? So therefore, you can understand why it means to be late or to delay. Right, so we can read that. Achare Yahushua. And of course the translation after Yahusha, or of course Yeshua. And then we come to 38a, and it's lamed and chet. Now, of course, the chet is the 8th letter of the alphabet, so that's how we get 38. And then we have a vav yod fe, because there's no dot in there, so it's a fe, and then nun sofit, a nun at the end of a word. And then we have yod, hey, vav, shin, ayin, aleph, chet, resh, yod, vav, vav, yod, resh, aleph, aleph, tav, mem sofit, mem at the end of a word. Hey, lamed, kaf, yod, mem sofit. So let us read it. Vayi fen, and he turned. If we look down here, this will help us. Pana. It's a verb to turn, to face, to speak to. So we can see its root is in face, because we know panim means face, right? So panay is like a singular form, and he turned. That means he turned to face, you could say, right? Yahushua, that's who, or Yahusha. Acharev. Again, it's after him, right? But they translate generally as behind him. So he turned after him or behind him. Vayar, and he saw, otam, them, hol kim, following. And it could also be going, because of course we know that halak means to go, to follow, like that. And the English is, and Yeshua turned behind him and saw them following. And again, I've given you achar, which is a prep meaning after or behind. I've already spoken about pana, and then we've got yare. Now, why did I give you that? Because we don't want to get confused here, because this yod is a prefix. It's not part of the root. Whereas yare is a kol verb to fear, to stand in awe, to respect. And often we can get confused with those, because the root of that one up there is ra'ah, which is a kol verb to see, to perceive. And that's why we have and he saw, because the prefix changes the tense from future to a completed action, a past tense in a sense. Right, now we can read that. And so we read it, and it is Vayifen Yahushua Acharev Vayar Otam Hokim. And the translation, and he turned, Yahusha, behind him, and he saw them following. Right. So, we now come to 38b, and of course we have an aleph, a chet, a resh, a yod, a vav. Vav, yod, aleph, mem, resh. Aleph, lamed, yod, hey, mem, sofit, mem, hey, tav, vayet, kuf, shin, vav. Vav, yod, aleph, mem, resh, vav. Remember, when we see a letter in white, it means there's no pronunciation of that letter. And then we go, acharev, means after him. So it means following after him. Vayomer, and he said, remember, no pronoun, it is generally he. Could be it, but it's generally he, right? Alehem, unto them. So he said unto them, Ma, what? tevakeshu. Ma means what? And then we have the tav there, which is second person. Do. It can mean will or shall, because it's an imperfect, so therefore do. And of course the u at the end is you, because the u can be third person they, but in this case it's you. And that's told to us by the tav at the beginning. And we have the root word, which is bikesh. PL verb, to ask, to request, to seek, to want, to crave. So do you seek? Vayomru, and they said. Again, because of the prefix, it's a completed action, a perfect form. So, and they said. Right, and I've given you also L, which is a prep for to, towards, at, in the direction of, unto. And then I've given you additional bukash, which is also a verb, to be asked, to be requested, to be wanted. It's sort of like the kibbutz is telling us it's a completed action again. Right, and I've also added down the bottom the tav. The tav prefix indicates second person future tense, therefore an incomplete action, just as I said before. And so now we can read that. Acharev vayomer alehem ma tevakeshu vayomru. After him, and he said unto them, what do you seek? And they said. And now we come to 38c, which has an aleph, a lamed, a yod, a vav, a resh, a bayit, a yod, an aleph, yod, fe, hey, tav, lamed, yod, nun safit. And we read it, elayv, meaning unto him, rabbi, rabbi, right? It's actually rabbi or rabbi, right? And it's translated as my teacher, but if we look down here, rav as an adjective means much, great, important. Therefore, rabbi could actually mean my great one. And then we have a fo, which means where. Ta lin. Again, the tav tells us it's like second person, so, and it's also future tense, so it's like will you lodge. And I've given you also le halin, which is a verb to lodge, to accommodate, to stay. Therefore, talin is an incomplete action, therefore second person form, therefore will you lodge. And then we have helin, which is a verb to host overnight and also to delay as a verb. But most importantly, the last one, helin, it looks similar, but it's a verb literally to complain. We could understand it as being the result of being delayed. So that sort of helps us link the word complain to the word to be delayed, like in the second one there. Right, so now let us see what the English says. They said unto him, Rabbi, which is interpreted, my teacher, where are you lodging? So now we read it without any H's. Life, Rabbi, Eifo, Talin. And the translation, unto him, Rabbi, where will you lodge? And so we come to 39a. It's represented with a lamed, 30, and a tet, which has a value of 9 because it's the 9th letter of the alphabet. And so we go through. Vav yod aleph mem resh. Aleph lamed yod hey mem safit. Bayet aleph vav. Vav resh aleph vav. Vav yod vayet, because there's no dot, aleph and vav. And we read it. Vayomer. And he said, Elehem, unto them, because the hem is the pronoun at the end, meaning them. Bo'u, because Yeshua was speaking, therefore we can translate that as you come, because bo is come. Ur, and you see. Vayavo'u, and they came. See how it's got the same ending, but when Yeshua is speaking, it's you, and when he's not speaking, it's they. So we have to identify the context often. And we have, he, Yeshua, said to them, come and see. They came. So hem is a suffix, is third person masculine possessive for their or them. And then I've given you u, which is this form. It's a suffix to mean a masculine plural they or you based on context. And then I've also given you ra'ah, which is a verb to see, to notice, to perceive. So now let us read that. And we begin here. Vayomer alehem bo'u ur'u vayavo'u. And he said unto them, you come and you see, and they came. And now we come to 39b. And we have a vav, yod, resh, aleph, vav. Aleph, tav, mem, kuf, vav, mem, sofit, mem, lamed, vav, nun, vav, vav, yod, shin, vet, vav, ayin, mem, vav, bet, yod, vav, mem, sofit. And now let's read it. Va yiru, and they saw, and of course that's because this is prefix, so it's a completed action. And they saw, et grammar marker, mekom, the place. And then I've added of, me lo no, his lodging. Now down here I've given you firstly malon, a masculine noun for hotel, overnight lodging. And, of course, I've given you makom, which is a masculine noun for place, space, spot, position, right? And then we have va, yesh, vu, and they stayed. And its root is yeshav. It's a kol verb, to sit, to live, to spend time, to dwell. And also, I've given you the O sound at the end of melono, and the O sound is a singular masculine possessive suffix for his or him. Right, and then we have imo, and that's like, again, it's got the possessive at the end, him, and im is with, and I've given you im down here as a prep with together by. And then bayom, meaning in the day. And they saw his lodging place, and they stayed with him that day. Now, of course, in the Hebrew, it says in the day, and the next word will be that, because the adjective is always following the word rather than in front of it. Whereas in English, we have that day. In Hebrew, it's in the day that. Right, so now it is time for us to read this one. And it is va yiru. Et mekom melono va yesh vu imo bayom. And they saw, grammar marker, the place of his lodging, and they stayed with him in the day. And so we come to 39c, and we see we have a hey. And we have a hey again, a vav, and a aleph. Vav, hey, ayin, tav, kaf, shin, ayin, hey, ayin, sin this time, because the dot's there, yod, resh, yod, tav. So let's read it. Hahu, which means that, meaning the day that. The ha'et, and the time. because et means time. So we've got it down here. Et as a feminine noun means time, season, or epoch. Ka, sha'a, like, sha'a is the hour. So if we look down here, sha'a is a feminine noun. It can mean hour or o'clock. And the kaf prefix has a meaning of like or as. Like the hour, ha'asirit, the 10th. With that sort of ending, it's usually the 10th. If we look down here, asiri is an adjective for 10th or 1/10. And we have also etser, which is a feminine noun, which means 10, and asar is the masculine noun, meaning 10, and it can also be teen, as in 13. So therefore, usually it's represented with like a 3 and 10. That's how they measure. 13 is 3 and 10. So that's why it's related to teen, meaning the 10 part of it. So now we can read that, which is hahu ve ha'et ka sha'a ha'asirit. That and the time, like the hour, the 10th. And they stayed with him that day. It was about the 10th hour at that time. And that's the English translation of it. And now we come to 40, and it's represented with a mem. And now we go through the letters. Vav, Aleph, Nun, Dalet, Resh, Yod. Aleph, Chet, Yod, Shin, Mem, Ayin, Vav, Nun, Sofit, Kaf, Fe, Aleph, Hey, Yod, Hey, Aleph, Chet, and Dalet. So let's read it. The Andere, translators, and Andre, Achi, meaning the brother. If we look down here, Ach is the masculine noun for brother, sibling, countryman, or close friend. But interestingly, the note is that Achi can mean my brother, but can also be used as brother. So it's probably a flowery way of saying brother, Achi, which should mean my brother, but it just can mean brother as well, the brother. Shimon, which is Simon, of course. Kepha, which is Kepha or Peter. Haya, he was. Echad, meaning one. And Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, was one. So now we can read that one. Ve'andrei Achi Shimon Kepha Haya Echad. And Andre, the brother of, we could say, Shimon, Kepha, he was one. And Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, was one. So now we come to 40b, and we see we've got a mem, a nun sofit, a hey, a shin, a nun, a yod, a mem sofit, and a aleph, a shin, a resh, a shin, mem, ayin, vav, mem, aleph, tav, yod, hey, vav, chet, nun, and nun sofit. And we read it. Min, meaning from, ha, shanayim, the two. A, shir, that, shamu, they heard, me'et, from grammar marker, yahu, chanan, which is translated as Yochanan, in the modern English anyway. So Andrew was one of the two who heard from John. And I've given you Shema as a call verb to hear, to listen. And I've also explained that the U sound, it's a shuruk suffix, It means third person plural as they, but not always. It depends who's speaking to. So therefore, it's third person in this case. And so we now can read this one. Min ha-shanayim asher sham'u me'et Yahuchanan. The translation, from the two that they heard from grammar marker Yochanan. And 40C is Vav, Yod, Lamed, Kaf, and Vav. Aleph, Chet, Resh, Yod, Vav. Vayilku, and they went. And of course its root, I've said before, is halak, which means to go, to walk, to follow. And they went. And acharev, after him. The English, and they followed after him. And I've also told you that the yod prefixed to a verb indicates future tense. And then I've got the va, pronounced as va, changes future tense to past tense. So it reverses the tense, and that's why we have and they went rather than they were going, or they did go. They went. It's a completed action. And where we have the ending, which is aiv, it's a suffix, third person singular, masculine possessive for him. So we get that at the end. That vav means after him. And of course I've given you again achare, prep for after. So now we can read that. Vayilku acharev. And they went after him. So now we come to just seeing how we went with our lesson. And we have a Lamed, 30, Zion 7. So we're in 37. Ushne, and the two of Talmidav, his disciples, Shamu, they heard, et grammar marker, devaro, his word, vayilku, and you could say, and they went, or and they followed. The two of his disciples, they heard, grammar marker, his word, and they went or followed. And then we have achare, which is after, Yahushua, after Yahusha, or Yahushua. And then we have a Lamed, 30, Chet, 8. So we now we're in 38. Va-yi-fen. And he turned, and he faced, literally, right? And he turned, Yahushua, acharev, after him or behind him, vaya, and he saw otam, them, whole kim, which could mean going or following. And he turned, Yahushua, behind him, and he saw them following. And of course that was 37a and b and 38a. So we turn to 38b now. And we have acharev, after him, vayomer, and he said, alehem, unto them, ma, what, tevakeshu, do you seek? Vayomru, and they said, after him, and he said unto them, what do you seek? And they said, Elev, unto him, Rabbi, teacher, my teacher, Epho, where, Talin, do you lodge, or will you lodge? Unto him, Rabbi, which can mean my teacher, where will you lodge? And then we have a Lamed 30, a Tet 9. So we're in 39a. Va yomer, and he said, alehem, unto them. Bo'u, you come, ur-u, and you see. Vayavo'u, and they came. Again, a completed action because of the prefix there, the vav and the yod. And he said unto them, you come and you see, and they came. And of course that was 38b and c and 39a. So now we come to 39b, which is Vayir'u, and they saw, at grammar marker, mekom, the place. Melono, of his lodging. Vayeshvu, and they stayed, because yeshav means to stay or sit or dwell. Imo, with him. Bayom, in the day. And they saw, grammar marker, the place of his lodging, and they stayed with him in the day. Hahu, that. Ve'ha'et, and the time. Ka sha'ah, like the hour. Ha'asirit, meaning the 10th. That, and the time, like the hour, the 10th. Then we have a mem, which has a value of 40. And we have the andere, which is translated Andrew. Achi, the brother of Shimon, Simon. Kepha, Peter. Haya, he was echad, one. And Andre, the brother of Shimon, Kepha, he was one. And it's 39b and c and 40a. So now we come to 40b. And we have min, from ha-shanayim, the two, asher, that, shamu, they heard, me'et, from, grammar marker, Yehuchanan, John. From the two that they heard, from, grammar marker, Yehuchanan, va'yilku, and they followed, or they went, acharev, after him. And they went after him. And of course, we are dealing with 40, B and C. And so we come now again to the valve markings so that we can make sure that we fully grasp it, and we'll just pick the top line today. The top one with the O sound, often the vav has no sound, but it's taken over by the nikud, so it's a cholam, so it's an O sound. Then we have shava, which breaks up into syllables, and where there's a dagesh in the letter, then it tends to have a short E sound behind the letter. Then we have a segol, which is a short E sound. We have a zere, which is a longer E sound. Then we have a patak, which sounds shorter. And then we have kamat, which is like a longer A sound. It's just to help us when we're pronouncing the words to give them shorter or longer sounds, just to make it a bit more accurate. So finally we come to the last slide, which is also important because it repeats again the resource that we can use. And do it in Hebrews because we're in the Brit Chadashah. We need to use the dictionary to look up the individual root words, which once we know the roots, we can always work out the rest of the word. So roots are so important. And so let us go through some of the letters this time. So we've got a mem here, which we've dealt with. The nun is 50, samek is 60, iron is 70, pei or fei is 80, zade is 90, kuf is 100, resh is 200, shin is 300, and tav is 400. So it's just repeating those so that when we see them, we understand the value of them. because that way we can look at a verse and we can put the two together. Often there could be a mem followed by an aleph, which would mean it would be 41. So once we understand that, we can work out the verses that we're dealing with. And I want to thank you if you've gone through this lesson, and I just pray that it's easy enough to follow and you were blessed by it, and that you continue in your study of Ivrit, which is Hebrew. And we just want to wish you a Shavua Tov, which is translated as a good week, but it literally means a good 7. So we just like to thank you for joining us, and we wish you all the best and blessings in Yeshua HaMashiach, Yeshua the Messiah. Amen.